Woohoo! Okay, it's Laurence Bradford from Learn to Code with Me, and I'm back for a beginning to CSS video. So quickly, I just want to review what we talked about already, and that is that HTML is like the face or the structure of the web page, and then CSS is kind of like the makeup or the presentation. Some people, I've heard the analogy before that HTML is like a person's soul, and then the CSS is like the outer appearance. But just realize that a website can function with just HTML and not CSS. But again, like 99.9% of all websites on the internet use both. But in order to have a website up and on the internet, you need to use HTML. It's not possible otherwise. Okay, so what is CSS? CSS, the actual term is cascading style sheets. And technically, CSS is not really coding. It's not programming, nor is HTML. Programming is something like JavaScript or Python or Ruby or C or C++ or C Sharp. And that kind of involves, logic and giving the computer orders. CSS is, again, just like styling. So it's doing things like changing the color or the font or the sizes of different elements on the page. So it does, it works with HTML, and again, HTML can exist without CSS, but CSS needs HTML to exist, if that makes sense. Okay, so I kind of talked about this just before, but CSS is really just, again, the styling, things like the color, the font, the position, the sizing, and now actually with CSS3, there's these different animation effects you can do. So in the past, you would have to use JavaScript to do some of these things, and now, like, a really good example of this, actually, I want to go to my site. I don't know what I have open. Okay. This is a good example of a CSS3 animation. So if you look at the top of my site in the nav bar, the Learn to Code with Me, and when the text appears, that's JavaScript. That's not CSS3. But see this, like this cursor that keeps blinking? That's actually created with CSS3. So that's just a little example. Okay, so what does it look like? This is just an example file from another site that I have. It's pretty simple looking. That's why I want to use it, because some of my other files can get a little confusing perhaps. I'm not going to go over all this now, but you can see that there are these elements or parts of the HTML file, like the body, the P tags or the paragraph tags, the headings, and then the lists, so unordered lists and ordered lists. And then you can see that they have these different, the correct term is on the next page. It's right here, actually, the property and the value, and that would be the selector. Anyway, you can see that they have these different values. So some of them you definitely know, like, font family, that's not hard to figure out. Font size, how big is the font? The text transformation right here is actually referring to the capitalization, so uppercase. So all of my headings are all uppercase, and that just does it automatically with CSS. So that's really convenient instead of, capitalizing on the keyboard and typing every single time. And then the margins, we'll get into that more in depth, but that kind of just creates a space around. In this case, the margin with the list kind of gives some more spacing with the list, so it just looks better and it's not as bunched up. Hold on, I think. My apologies, I had to pause for a second. I thought someone was at the front door. Okay, so this is how you set up a CSS rule. So you have the selector. In this case, I'm showing the body, but it could really be almost anything in the HTML file, like the footer, the header, the paragraph or heading tags, or elements, I guess I should say. And then there is the property, which right here is color, which again, I think is pretty self-explanatory. This is actually the color of the font, not the background color. That's what the property is called, would change like the background of that selector. And then the value. And this is, and maybe for some people, if you've done design, you've seen this before, but this is the hex value. And this is actually the color black. You can write out black, but there's only so many like colors built in. And when you want to get really specific with a color, using hexadecimal is the best. This is actually, I love this, the Adobe Cooler. If you just Google Adobe Cooler, you'll find this. But for instance, this gives you the hex, right? 333, 3, 6 times. That's black. Say I want to find, hold on, let me pin this one and see what gives you like compound. So say if I want to change the color to something else, this is the hex. You know, instead of just saying green, right? Because green, ooh, whoopsies, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, let's do this one. It's like a purpley pink, right? It just gets more specific. Oh, so yeah, that would be the hex for that color. Oops. And just, okay, so with the hexadecimal colors, you could actually do 333 instead of the 3 6 times. That's kind of like a shorthand version. But then with some of the longer ones, like we saw here, you'd have to put the whole thing in. But see how this is like 0 0 0 0. Actually, I lied. 0. This is black. And the 333 is a dark gray. My apologies. Anyway, with this, you could just say, you know, 0 0 0 instead of putting it 6 times. Okay, so this is kind of just what it looks like. Selector, property, value. So I kind of just recapped everything I mentioned before with the different properties and the different values, and how this entire thing right here, I like this one more, is a declaration. So it's kind of giving, you know, it's like giving a command to the HTML, like make the body that font, so this would be font, this color. Say if I did, I don't want to go in here. Say if I want all of my H1 headings, right? That's the selector. And then say if I want all of them to be fonts, a font size, that's a property. We'll get into sizes later on. There's a bunch of ways you can do it. But say if I want to put, you know, I could put pixels, so 50 pixels, right? That's one way to do it. And that would be the value. All right, so that is all I'm going to cover for today with the intro to CSS. Thank you for watching, and next time I'll get more in depth with CSS.